An Unexpected Future by A-Series on AO3, Episode 9, Chapter 9. Haven't any of you heard of personal space? Hey, did you watch the news last night? Sue rubbed her eyes as Hagakure gushed to Ojiro about the class's literal 1 second of stream time on the news. Sue was never one to care about fame, one way or another, and even if she couldn't blame her class from getting excited, she had a hard time joining them in their good mood. If it weren't for Five, she would have died. The thought was deeply sobering, and was one that had been haunting Sue and her family ever since. Her parents actually took time off of work to spend time with her and her siblings as a family. It was nice to have everyone together for longer than a hurried breakfast, but even everyone dotting on her couldn't stop the nightmares. It probably wasn't healthy, but Sue kept peeking at the news every time she had a moment to herself. She wanted to know if the villains who attacked had been caught yet, if they found any more information that made what happened make if they found any more information that made what happened make any more sense than an attempt on All Might's life gone wrong. But the news seemed to have been fed a sanitized version of the events, a version where the threat was minimal, and the only people injured were villains and teachers. Five's presence was eliminated entirely. Everyone, homeroom is about to start. Stop talking and take your seats. Sue jumped in her chair at Ida's loud order as Jiro pointed out, "We're already in our seats." "You're the only one who's not," Zero added on. "That's not true," Ida said from the front of the room, pointing with a chop of his arms to an empty seat between Midoriya and Yaoyorozu. "Mineta has yet to arrive. Does anyone know about his whereabouts?" Kaminari frowned, looking back at Mineta's desk. "I tried messaging him a couple times over the weekend, but all he said was that he had to think some stuff over." "Trauma, maybe?" Kaminari suggested, with a frown. "Hey, Suyu!" Mina nearly fell over as she leaned back to ask Suyu, "Any idea who's gonna teach homeroom today?" Sue pushed the chair right up again. "Well, Mr. Aizawa is supposed to be in the hospital recovering from his injury." She was immediately proven wrong, as the door slid open and Aizawa, covered in bandages and casts, stepped inside, knocking the door closed behind him with a casual, "Hello." "So you're right, Mr. Aizawa," Ida said happily. "Can you call that all right?" Ojiro mumbled in horror. "Sit down, Ida," Aizawa ordered, nodding back to Ida's seat. As Ida rushed to do just that, Aizawa replaced him at the podium. "We have a lot to cover today, so we're gonna get right into it. Yaoyorozu." He looked at her. "Move up a seat. Mineta requested a transfer to General Studies, and it was approved over the weekend." Whispers broke out amongst the students, throwing each other concerned glances and speculating about what happened as Kaminari threw his arm out in the air and blurted out, "Why is he doing that?" Asui had a pretty good guess, considering how scared Mineta had been during the attack. She couldn't say she was going to miss him. "You'd be better off asking him for his reasonings," Aizawa said, sounding more tired than usual. "The transfer was already finalized by the time I was released from the hospital." That quieted the remaining whispers, though several students exchanged nervous glances. Sue herself caught Midoriya's eye, and the grin set on his mouth only grew. Midoriya was the only other person who knew exactly how bad it was for the three of them, how they were close enough to Aizawa to smell the blood when he was knocked unconscious, how a few centimeters and a wayward middle schooler was all that kept Sue alive. He could understand exactly why someone might want to drop out after what they saw. She nodded back to him. "Moving on. Some of you may have seen a young foreigner during the USJ attack." Aizawa continued, and Sue straightened up in her seat. "Both the school and the police have looked into his presence, and have determined that him being there was entirely coincidental. He has a teleportation quirk that went haywire when he was pushing his limits, and ended up with us after having jumped through both space and time. Time? Kirishima repeated indignantly, just barely keeping from jumping off his seat. He's a time traveler? Oh, is he from the future? Hagakure asked gleefully. Did he say we all become super famous heroes? No, he's not from the future, Aizawa corrected, tiredly, which is the reason this is particularly delicate situation. He does not have control over his time travel aspects of his quirk yet, so there's no telling what would happen if he were to attempt another jump right now. Principal Nedzu has decided it is best for him to stay under UA's protection until we figure out a way for him to get back to his own time safely. An anxious knot loosened in Sue's chest at that news. Even if Five was outside of his own time, at least he had somewhere safe to stay. The principal has also decided that, while he won't be participating in the curriculum, the boy will be sitting in some of our classes while he works on his self-study. You all are a trial class for the system. Feel free to talk to him in between classes. But remember, he has his own workload. And most importantly, Aizawa met with each of their eyes in turn. Do not talk to him about history while he's here. We need to preserve the timeline as much as possible. Midoriya, that means you. Midoriya gave a little yelp and a quick, yes, sir, while Bakugo crackled in front of him. Aizawa gave another look over everyone before nodding and making his way back to the door and sliding it open with his foot. Come in and introduce yourself. And there he was. Five scrolled in after Aizawa, like he owned the place, only giving the class a courtesy glance before putting on a plastic smile and saying in Japanese, Hello, I'm Hargreaves number 5. If everything goes well, I'll be out of your hair before you know it. It didn't look like most of their class knew what to make of Five. A few of them, like Hagakure, were excited about the prospect of meeting a time traveler. Some of them looked concerned, like Kaminari and Sero, exchanging confused and wary glances with each other. Bakugo narrowed his eyes, his gaze never leaving Five, who barely even spared Bakugo a glance. Midoriya, on the other hand, looked like he was halfway to throwing up, both hands covering his mouth, as he tried, and failed, to look away. Aizawa glanced at Five, and nodded to Yaoyorozu's vacant seat in the back. Five took the hint, and vanished before everyone's eyes, appearing right next to the empty chair and sitting down in an instant. Hargreaves! Ida stood faster than Sue could turn around to look at him. I understand that you're new and unfamiliar with the rules, but please keep in mind that there are to be no quirks outside of the designated training areas. Right. Sorry about that. Five apologized, not sounding sorry at all. As class president, it is my duty to make sure that your transition goes as smoothly as possible. If you need a copy of the study handbook, I'll be more than happy to provide you with one. Please see me at lunch to discuss this further. Ida, sit down. Aizawa scolded for the second time. Hargreaves, Ida is right. He's also in charge when a teacher isn't around. Got that? Got it. Five said absently, pulling out a packet and already getting to work with what Sue assumed was self-study that Aizawa had mentioned earlier. Right. Aizawa took a deep breath. Now, the UA Sports Festival is coming up in 2 weeks. When lunchtime rolled around, all anyone was talking about was either the sports festival or Five. By the time Sue pulled out her bento box, there was already a swarm of students crowding around the corner desk. Five, trapped and leaning away from all of them. Ida, true to his words, was the closest, and halfway through a lecture, when Hagakure shoved him out of the way to ask Five, Are you really from the past? What year? Hagakure! Ida scolded before Five could get a word in edgewise. This is highly inappropriate behavior upcoming of a UA student. Sucks that you arrived in the middle of a mess like that, Kirishima said, rubbing the back of his neck. Quickly recovering, he clenched an enthusiastic fist. I'm sure Yue will figure out how to get you back in no time, though. That's right, Yariozu assured, turning around in her new seat to face Five. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm the class vice president, and always happy to help. Hargreeves. Mina wrinkled her nose from the edge of the swarm before asking herself more than five, why is your name so hard to say? Really? Kaminari turned to her in surprise from his spot sitting on Tokoyami's desk. I don't think it's hard. Hargreeves. Mina's brows furrowed in confusion, struggling to sound out the name back to him. Her expression suddenly brightened, and she leaned past Kaminari to ask, Hey, can we call you Haru? Instead of answering, Five disappeared in a flash of light, reappearing just outside the door and heading towards the cafeteria with purpose. So, that's a yes, right? Mina grinned conspiratorially at the boys in Five's absence. Kaminari matched her chaotic grin. He didn't say no. I don't know, guys. Kaminari frowned. It's not very manly to call someone by a name they don't like. Bakugo literally calls you shitty hair, Mina pointed out, incredulously. Sue! Ochako all but barreled into Sue, grabbing her shoulders, and with a burning passion in her eyes, declared, I'm gonna do my best. Sue blinked at the non-skewer before remembering the other major announcement today. Oh, the sports festival. I'm sure you'll do great, Ochako. Ochako blinked, pulling away a little to look at Sue better. Everything okay, Sue? I'm fine, Sue assured her, patting Ochako on the arm and extracting herself from Ochako's grip. Are you sure? Ochako asked. You've been distracted all day. Yeah, I'm fine, Ribbit. I just want a chance to talk to Five, Sue explained, glancing at the door. Five. Oh, the new kid. Ochako chuckled. Yeah, pretty much everyone wants to talk to him. I think they wanted to make him feel welcomed, but they just sort of ended up crowding him. Huh. You could probably just catch him in the cafeteria. Sue nodded, her grip tightening on her bendo. Yeah, I'll go look for him. Good luck, Ochako called, as Sue walked quickly down the hall. Okay, alright, this was an interesting chapter. We didn't get a point of view of Hargreeves. It was, of Fives. Shit, sorry. Sorry, I'm getting used to saying Hargreaves because of this chapter. We got Sue's point of view. That was interesting. So, the next chapter is called Academy. It's just a fancy word for school. That's interesting. But I think haven't you heard of any of personal space? I feel like that's the little bit of Five's point of view we see. I probably think he's probably like fucking bullshit these people and just teleports away to get away from them, which I don't blame you, Five. I would do the same because social interactions scare me. I don't know why I sang that. Social interactions are scary. I understand you, Five. Social interactions are bullshit. And especially Five, right? I'm pretty sure he's isolated from society as a whole, obviously, but like, I don't think he's ever had to be in a group of 20 people around his age. I say around roughly because, let's be honest, they're 2 years or 2 to 1 year, like, older than him, right? Some of them might be 2 years older than him, some of them might be a year and a half older than him, but for the most part, let's just say 2 years older than him, right? And that can be what's it called? From going to only knowing your siblings, right? To 20 kids around your age crowding you. Well, maybe not 20 whole kids, but like that was at least a group of 5, right? Right, a group of 5. That seems, yeah, that understandable. I would, if I could, teleport away as well. I would teleport the fuck away because fuck that shit. Nope. Not doing that. Nope, not happening. I have really bad social interaction, but it was a very interesting chapter to see Sue's perspective, especially seeing how she's reacting to the trauma of almost dying. I wonder what she has to say to Five, and if so, what's gonna happen next? Also, Mina's nickname, instead of saying Hargreaves, just saying Har. I think that's how I'm gonna pronounce it Har. Even though each time I'm thinking of Haru, or Haru, there you go, Haru. Haru or Har. I think Haru is better. Hargreaves. It makes more sense for it to be Hargreaves though. Hargreaves instead of Haru, right? Because there's no oo in his name. But oh well. Even if I say Har, all I think of my mind is Har. But I, on a lighter note, that was a lighter note. What the fuck? Here's a blooper that I found fucking hilarious. So this is what happens in a lot of my bloopers. Well, Baku. Who's Baku? Baku. My throat hurts. Fuck. So, yeah. Baku. Who's Baku? I just now realized that Baku is like a shortened version of Bakugo, but I wasn't trying to say Bakugo, I was trying to say Bakugo, I wasn't trying to say Baku, right? And I said Baku, and I was like, what the fuck? So a lot of the times, that's my bloopers. That is my bloopers. I be saying something, and I say it wrong, and then I'm like, what the fuck is this? Or when I accidentally say Kaminari instead of Kirishima, I'm like, what the fuck? That's not Kaminari, that's Kirishima. Or, vice versa, that's not, Kirishima, that's Kaminari, because their names fuck with my mind. And yeah, just a little insight of my little bloopers, because I almost always talk to myself. I remember one blooper specifically where I just broke out into a musical number. We don't talk about that, and that blooper will never see the fucking day of light. The light of day? The day of light? Whatever. As always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.